Hello, I'm Doug, and this is the Taste and Sensibility channel. And here we are at episode number 6 of Stinky Cheeses, where we are moving up the stinky scale today with a French cheese called Epoisses. And it has the characteristic orange rind. This was purchased at Whole Foods for some really high price, $20 for this half-pound thing. Yeah, 8.8 ounces. Best before 31 May 2023. Whew, just made it. So this will be at its stinkiest or most runny or something like that. So this has been washed with a brine, which encourages the growth of a stinky bacteria. Also the same organism known to produce human body odor. So that is the kind of aroma that we're talking about here. And this has been kept in by the plastic wrap. Actually, this cheese is famous for having a law in France that you cannot ride on a Paris subway with this cheese in your possession, because it will stink up the place. So that's about to happen in this room. Yes, this is at room temperature. It's been out of the fridge for a couple hours now. And it's very moist and runny looking on top. I don't think I'm going to dump it out onto the slate, because the slate is very hard to clean. It has been picking up stinky aromas. So it comes in this nice little wood crate, so it stays together. If I wanted to dump it, oh, it's in paper. Let me dump it out on a non-slate plate and then dump it over. Let's see how that. Okay, so I just got this bad idea to dump it out onto a non-slate plate, and then to transfer it to the slate with the paper in between. That knife is a little small for taking this apart. Yeah, I will just keep that knife away from everything else. So this cheese is fairly famous and is listed in Liz Thorpe's wonderful book, The Book of Cheese. In her Tolleggio Gateway chapter, which has many of these stinky things here, I think she probably has an example of Epoisses from a different maker, but it's round, very orange top, and very runny and custardy on the inside. She recommends this cheese, although from a different maker, I think. So this comes from Herve Mons, which is widely available at Whole Foods, and is a wonderful cheese maker, but the recommended brand is Fromagerie Berthaud. Aroma farty, texture silken and spoonable, flavor, some French words, and then in short, bark is worse than its bite. And she's referring to the aroma being very intense, but the flavor being very approachable, or actually it's in her intense flavor scale cheese also. So we are just going to cut into this and see what's inside. I don't expect it to behave in any way I want it to. Okay, so not too bad. It is maybe manageable. So I can separate it from the paper. You can see that it's just custardy yellow on the inside, and it all looks about the same. I'm not sure I see a center that's different than a cream line. It is like a little cold butter, chilled butter, not quite room temperature butter. So let me get a little taste going here. Oh man, that memory card died just as I was tasting my first bite. And let me tell you, it was intense. So, let me repeat my first bite of Epoisses from Herve Mons. There's a creaminess to it. It has sharp, salty cheese flavor, but all around the outside, all around the periphery, are fairly strong notes of something that you might find in the corner of a barn. or in the middle of a barn that has animals in it, or a barn where animals died in it. There's old stuff, there's old wood, there's old hay and straw and grass and old things. And it's not my favorite flavor profile. So it's complex and interesting, and then you're checking off things. Oh, well, I don't like that one, I don't like that one, I don't like that one. And there's probably more things to object to than to appreciate. So the complexity is very interesting, and the range of flavors is very interesting, but I can't say I'm a fan. So I will smear some on this whole grain cracker. And try to get another perspective here. So I would say saltiness, complexity are the things that stand out, and then some of the funkier notes are farmy and barnyardy type things. So I would say I've got more reasons to not like it than to like it at this point. Although it seems to be a high quality cheese, it is inundated with strange flavors I'm not used to and don't appreciate today. Again, saltiness and brininess is one of the stronger flavors. So that is a bit unpleasant in itself. So in the multi-grain cracker, I got pretty much the same intensity of funkiness. So let's do a tiny bit on this water cracker and see if anything else comes out by getting about the same thing on each one. Same sort of thing. Getting used to the funky flavors. They're kind of settling in and less offensive, but they're still pretty strong. And with this texture, you're not really going to get a slice of it and hold it in your hand. This is runny, scoopable. Some people might want to do this with a spoon. So I'm going to go on to a pairing with a fresh cherry, a dark cherry like a bean cherry. And let's see if the cherry helps the overall thing, or if this cheese just wrecks the cherry for me. But this is half of a dark sweet cherry with Epoisses on a flatbread. Okay, overall it's a good effect. There were flashes of funkiness and flashes of the salt, but the fruity sweetness of the cherry and juiciness of the cherry kind of covered up some of that and moderated some of that and made it a better experience overall than just the cheese by itself. So next, I'm going to go in the direction of a jalapeno slice. Will be some fresh green vegetable or vegetative parts. No, actually it's a fruit, but I'm going to, it should be quite a contrast. Not much else in here is food-like, so let's see how this goes. Jalapeno and Epoisses. Okay, good combination. I'm not getting a lot of heat from the chili, but I'm getting all the green pepper flavor for sure. So that's coming through strongly. A little heat at the end. But it had some similarities to Mexican dishes where you would get cheese and chilies. And they usually play pretty well off of each other, so that was not bad at all. Let's see if I can do something with a piece of pear. It's a fresh pear, a little juicy, and very sweet, and it's ripe. And I'm going to take a small wad of the cheese with its rind and just try to get what I can on this piece. And give that a taste. So, it's a good contrast. The funkiness is very much moderated. The juiciness and fruitiness of the pear kind of covers over some of the cheese notes that you might not want to taste. So there's a good contrast between the salty cheese, salty, fatty cheese, and the juicy, sweet character of the fruit. So I'm going to take a piece, just a cashew, a whole cashew, and dip it, drag it through, try to pull off a piece of the cheese to see how that goes along. Not spectacular. It didn't really hurt the cashew. There probably wasn't enough cheese to do a proper tasting. Along the same lines, I've got a rosemary breadstick here, which I should have tried a little bit earlier, but I'm going to do a nice portion of cheese if I can catch it. Yeah, there we go. And see if I can pick up the rosemary or anything distinctive about the breadsticks. Rosemary can be a strong flavor, and it came through. Even though it's dried and baked, the rosemary came through and meshed with the cheese flavors pretty nicely. And the breadstick somewhat diluted the funkiness. So lots of things work with this cheese, but some people are just going to have a barrier right there at that funkiness, the barnyard smells and flavors, and then the farmyard aspect to it. Mouth cleanse. I would think bacon works, because bacon works with everything. But I do have a wine here. It's a Gewürztraminer from Alsace, the French area, up by Germany. 12.5% ABV of a Gewürztraminer. Wow, it's from 2013. That's pretty old for a white, but they tend to be fruity and very characteristic, and a little bit of a floral nature too that makes it stand out from other whites. So I need to get this on some sort of cracker, some sort of device. I'll just use a club cracker here as my vehicle, and put on a good wad of cheese and a good wad of the rind. So it's in there. Okay. So I'm going to call that 2 bites. And do wine, cheese, wine, cheese, wine. So the aroma is really fruity. It's a little bit grapey, and then there's other things that lots of people call floral, but I'm not sure what the flowers are. But it's a white wine with some extra stuff. So I like Gewürztraminer a lot. Oh, that's good. Fruity and fresh wine, and then the cheese is salty, funky, moderated by the cracker, but barnyard things are in there, farmyard things are in there, and the old things. More wine. Ah, the sweetness is nice, the fruitiness is nice. I'd say it doesn't clash at all. Those things go. Okay, more wine. Sweet fruitiness, well, sweet compared to the cheese. This is a fairly dry wine, but maybe there's a little bit of sweetness to it, but the fruitiness is the main thing that I'm always looking for. And it really balances this cheese very well. tones down some of the funky things. They're still in there, but they're not nearly as strong, and then the sweetness is surprising after you've had the cheese. So that's a pretty good pairing, so I'm impressed. So, just in the course of this episode, I've grown to dislike this cheese less. So, that's pretty interesting. So I'm going to have a little sign-off piece. We're going to have something stronger and funkier than this before we're done stepping through this in an orderly way. But then after that, it'll be a bunch of random episodes for 5 or 10. So we'll see how many cheeses I come up with in my area. So Epoisses is not terrible, but it's not for everybody, that's for sure. So read up carefully. Look on YouTube for other reviews, because they will tell you it's strong stuff. So come back for our new episodes, and cheers.